Fooled my cheating soon-to-be ex-wife into thinking I was cheating. Then thermonuclear Shinobi ghosted and served her Christmas Day. I'm Mark, 28M, and this is the story of how my marriage went down in flames, and how I made sure I wasn't the one left in the ashes. I married Claire, 27F, after 4 years of dating. She was sharp, outgoing, and loved to be the center of attention. I was quieter, more analytical, but I thought we balanced each other out. Everyone described us as the perfect couple. We bought a small house, adopted a dog, and I thought we were building something real. Looking back, I realized the signs were always there. She worked late nights more often than seemed normal. Her phone became glued to her hand, locked with a new passcode I didn't know. She suddenly cared more about girls' trips than time with me. But I convinced myself I was paranoid. I didn't want to be the insecure husband who couldn't trust his wife. The truth punched me in the face one random Thursday evening. Claire had left her laptop open on the kitchen counter. Normally, she was obsessive about shutting it. I wasn't snooping, I swear, but when I walked past, I saw a message preview pop up in the corner of the screen. It wasn't a work email. It was from a guy named Evan Redhart. I froze. Against every instinct, I opened the laptop. My hands were shaking as I scrolled through chat after chat. Late-night messages, explicit jokes, even hotel bookings. It had been going on for months, maybe longer. Every girl's trip was time with him. Every late shift was dinner and a bed at a downtown hotel. I sat there until the dog whined, breaking me out of the spiral. My first impulse was to confront her, scream, demand answers. But then a colder part of me took over. Claire was smart. If I accused her outright, she'd twist it, gaslight me, or erase the evidence before I could prove anything. So I copied everything. Screenshots, emails, booking confirmations. I uploaded it all to a hidden cloud folder. The evidence was airtight. That night when she came home, smiling, carrying takeout, I said nothing. I ate dinner. I laughed at her stories. And inside, I made a decision. If she thought she could make me the fool, I'd let her, right up until the moment I turned the game on its head. She had her secrets. Now I had mine. And Christmas was coming. After the night I discovered Claire's affair, every part of me wanted to rage. To ask her how she could betray me. To demand why the vows we made meant nothing. But instead, I smiled. I kissed her forehead. I told her good night. Because I wasn't going to confront her. I was going to beat her at her own game. The first step was subtle. I started leaving the house earlier than usual, saying I had early meetings. I don't think she noticed at first, but eventually, she started asking questions. What project are you working on? Why so early? I kept my answers vague, just like she had with her girls' trips. Then I began texting late at night, deliberately turning the screen away from her. When she leaned over to peek, I'd lock the phone instantly. A few times I even chuckled at nothing, then set the phone down like I was done. In reality, I was just typing notes to myself or sending messages to an old friend who agreed to play along. Her reactions were almost funny. She went from smug detachment, the kind cheaters have when they think they're smarter than you, to irritated curiosity. Once, she asked directly, "Who are you texting?" I looked her in the eyes and said, "Just work stuff." The same excuse she'd given me 100 times. I could see it gnawing at her. The next step was props. I bought a second cheap phone, left it on silent, and hid it in my car. A few times I forgot to take my jacket out of the living room. In the pocket was a receipt for 2 coffees or a dinner for 2. Innocent on their own, but damning to a paranoid mind. The shift was dramatic. She started watching me closely. She stayed up later, scrolling her own phone while pretending not to notice I was doing the same. She checked my laundry basket. Once, she even sniffed my shirt when she thought I wasn't looking. And still, I said nothing. Instead, I leaned into it. I made sure to smile at texts more often. I lingered by the window like I was waiting for someone. I left just enough evidence to suggest something was going on, but not enough to prove it. By early December, she was unraveling. The same woman who had been sneaking around with her Evan Redhart was now convinced I was the one stepping out. And that's when I knew. She was ready to be served. But not just served. Humiliated. Christmas was going to be the day she remembered for the rest of her life. December crept forward like a countdown clock. Every Christmas decoration Claire hung, every carol she hummed, every wrapped present under the tree only fueled my resolve. She thought she was walking into another holiday of fake smiles. What she didn't know was that this Christmas would detonate everything. By then, I had spoken to a divorce lawyer. She was blunt. You've got the evidence. Don't tip your hand until you're ready. Serve her papers in a way she won't forget. That phrase stuck with me. In a way she won't forget. So I planned it like an operation. Step 1, ghost her. The night before Christmas Eve, I told her I'd be spending Christmas morning with work friends. I packed a bag, kissed her cheek, and left. She smiled through her teeth, clearly suspicious, probably convinced I was off to meet some mistress. Let her think that. Step 2, go dark. I turned my main phone off and left it in my desk drawer. The burner phone I'd been using for fake texts went in my glove compartment. No contact, no explanations. I wanted her paranoia to spiral. On Christmas morning, I sat in a coffee shop across town, sipping quietly as snow fell outside. Meanwhile, back at the house, Claire was pacing, calling, texting, probably checking my location like she always did when she thought I wasn't looking. Every hour that passed, I imagined her confidence crumbling. At exactly noon, my lawyer's courier arrived at our house. While she was still simmering, waiting for me to come home, he knocked on the door and handed her a red envelope tied with a ribbon. Inside wasn't a card. It was divorce papers, and attached to them was a neat packet of screenshots. Every message with Evan, every hotel booking, every explicit photo she thought she'd hidden. Merry Christmas. From the reports I later got from neighbors, she screamed so loud they heard her through the walls. She ripped decorations off the tree, hurled ornaments against the floor, and stormed outside in her slippers, shouting into the snow. I didn't answer a single one of her calls. Not that day, not the day after. Because step 3 was silence. Thermo-nuclear, ghost-level silence. I vanished from her radar. She couldn't fight me, couldn't twist the story, couldn't gaslight me, because I gave her nothing. All she had was the truth in black and white, delivered to her on Christmas Day. And it was eating her alive. By New Year's, Claire had gone from furious to desperate. The silence wasn't just starving her of attention. It was cutting off her ability to control the narrative. And then the legal process kicked in, delivering blow after blow. My lawyer had been sharp from the start. She filed for divorce citing adultery, attaching the full packet of evidence. In our state, cheating isn't just a moral failing, it has financial consequences. It meant Claire had no grounds to demand alimony. It meant the court viewed her as the cause of the marriage's breakdown. When she finally received the asset division paperwork, her mask cracked for good. The house? Mine, because I had bought it with my inheritance before we married. The savings account? Split, but heavily tilted in my favor because of her infidelity. The dog? Mine, since I was the primary caretaker. Claire's response was a 17-page rant disguised as a counterclaim. She accused me of cheating, of emotional neglect, of weaponizing silence. My lawyer shredded it like tissue. Where's the evidence? She asked in court. Claire had none. Worse for her, Evan, her precious Evan Redheart, ghosted the second the divorce went public. He deleted his socials, blocked her number, and disappeared. She had blown up her marriage, her family's respect, and her reputation for a man who wouldn't even stand beside her. The panic showed. She emailed me begging for mediation. She left voicemails sobbing that she had made a mistake, and we could fix this. When none of that worked, she tried anger again, threatening to ruin me if I didn't soften. But there was nothing left for her to ruin. Every asset she thought she'd use against me was already locked down. Every lie she tried to tell crumbled against the weight of screenshots and contracts. Her life was unraveling in court filings and lawyer fees, and I didn't have to lift a finger. All I did was let the truth speak, and the truth was merciless. Cornered animals don't go quietly, and Claire was no exception. With the legal system stripping away her defenses, she scrambled to find new ones. First came the sympathy card. She told mutual friends she'd been diagnosed with anxiety and depression, implying my silence had pushed her into a breakdown. A few people bought it, posting messages about mental health awareness on her behalf. But then someone leaked a text where she admitted she was just telling people that so they don't hate me. The sympathy dried up overnight. Next came the smear campaign. Claire reached out to my job, claiming I had been emotionally abusive and cheating for months. HR investigated. I calmly handed them my lawyer's documentation. Her affair, the timeline, the screenshots. The case was closed in a single meeting. If anything, she embarrassed herself more than me. But her most outrageous move was aimed at my family. She showed up at my mom's house unannounced, clutching photos of us from happier days. According to my mom, she sobbed about how she still loved me and how she was sick, but couldn't say of what. When pressed, she muttered something about a possible tumor before breaking down again. My mom, bless her, called me the second Claire left. She's lying, I told her flatly. Don't let her drag you into this. And I was right. Days later, I found out she'd been using the tumor story online, fishing for donations through a half-baked GoFundMe. It backfired spectacularly when a cousin of Evan's commented, "Funny, you were healthy enough to cheat on my relative for months." The fundraiser vanished within hours. By then, Claire's web was collapsing faster than she could spin it. Friends cut her off. Family stopped defending her. Evan was long gone. All that remained was the final court date and the hammer of judgment. She had gambled everything: love, family, reputation, dignity. And by Christmas she'd lost it all. But in court, she was about to lose the last thing she thought she still had, her pride. The final hearing felt less like a divorce and more like an autopsy. Everything was already laid bare. The evidence, the betrayals, the lies. All that remained was to carve up what was left. Claire walked in with her lawyer, looking hollow. Gone was the smug confidence, the sharp suits, the social media glow. She looked like someone who hadn't slept in weeks. Her lawyer shuffled papers nervously, clearly aware they were walking into a losing battle. My attorney laid out the evidence one last time. Screenshots of her messages, hotel receipts, witness statements from friends who had caught her in lies. Then came the financials. The house? Untouchable since it was mine pre-marriage. The savings? Divided but heavily weighted my way thanks to the adultery clause. The dog? Mine. The debt? Hers. Credit cards racked up on girls' trips that were really Evan's vacations. When the judge read the decision, it was clinical. Claire's alimony request? Denied. Property claims? Denied. Her lawyer tried one last plea about emotional hardship. The judge barely looked up. Actions have consequences. This court won't reward deception. Claire broke right there. She dropped into her chair, covered her face, and sobbed loudly enough that it echoed across the courtroom. For the first time, I didn't feel anger or even triumph. Just emptiness, like watching a storm finally burn itself out. Afterward, as we left, she tried to catch my eye. I didn't stop. I didn't look. I walked past her as if she were just another stranger in the hallway. Because that's all she was now. Outside, my lawyer shook my hand. "Clean break," she said. "You're free." And she was right. The marriage, the lies, the betrayal, all of it was over. But there was one last move to make. Because silence was powerful. But disappearing completely? That would be the real victory. When the papers were signed, the judge's gavel might as well have been a starter pistol. For Claire, it was the beginning of her fallout. For me, it was the start of something else. Freedom. I didn't yell, I didn't gloat, I didn't post a single thing online. I simply erased her. I blocked her number, deleted every photo, shut down our shared accounts, and changed the locks on the house she would never step into again. Christmas had been the blast. Court was the fallout. Now came the ghosting. She tried to claw her way back. New numbers, emails, even handwritten letters slipped under my mom's door. Each one was more desperate than the last. Apologies, threats, begging for just one more chance. I answered none of them. Friends asked if I wanted to tell my side of the story publicly. I didn't. She had already destroyed herself better than I ever could. Social media remembered the GoFundMe scam. Our community remembered the hotel receipts. Her parents remembered the lies she spun until even they stopped defending her. My silence was louder than any statement. It left her shouting into a void, unraveling while I moved forward. Because here's the truth. Sometimes the best revenge isn't fire. It's absence. It's walking away so completely that the other person is left choking on the dust of what they destroyed. On Christmas night, she opened a red envelope and found her world in ruins. By New Year's, she was alone, broke, and exposed. And me? I was sitting on my couch with the dog, drinking cocoa, watching snow fall outside the window of the house she thought she'd still own. I never got the apology I deserved, but I got something better, closure on my terms. And I didn't just leave her. I ghosted her so thoroughly, so permanently, that to her, I might as well not exist, because she made me the fool. Until the day I turned the lights off, left her in the dark, and proved who the real fool was.